Hey y'all, it's Southern Sleuth again, and it's time for another Nancy Drew analysis. Which breed of dog would each Nancy Drew video game character have? This is video 4 of, again, I really don't know how many. So if you haven't already watched video number 1 about the series, go back and take a look for some further context. It's the one about main Nancy Drew characters. I'll put it in the description. Once again, we're spinning the wheel to determine which Nancy Drew game we're analyzing next. If you watched the previous video about Phantom of Venice, you'll know I already spun this wheel early to get a head start. But you don't know what it is yet, unless you read the description and saw the picture and all that good stuff. But anyways, the wheel says, Curse of Blackmoor Manor. On to England we go. Pip pip cheerio. And bangers and mash and all that good stuff. Please note that this video will contain major spoilers due to the nature of these characters' roles. So if you've not yet completed Curse of Blackmoor Manor, I do recommend skipping this video and waiting for the next one. You can just go back and watch the first video twice, and the second video as many times as you want, and the third video as many times as you want. Alright, leave this video in 3, 2, 1. Let's get sleuthing, y'all. Now this family is one I was really looking forward to digging into. I wish there was far more history on each of the characters, but we can just come up with that ourselves, can't we? I decided to start with the matriarch herself, Linda Penvillin. Unfortunately, we don't get to physically see much of her in the game, but what we do see is very telling and very significant. She is full of nervous energy, which manifests itself in some extreme anxiety, which is what ultimately allows her to be fooled about her current state. Perhaps if maybe her husband had stayed in the country as well instead of making her doubt his intentions, she might not have been so susceptible to the mansion's folklore. But if we cannot get Hugh to stick around, a dog can be a great anxiety reducer and a distraction when life is less than ideal. A loyal companion can really turn someone's day around. So, a Pomsky felt like a perfect little companion for Linda for a variety of reasons. If you don't know, a Pomsky is a newer, I say this with air quotes, breed that is a mix of a Husky and a Pomeranian. All the fluff at a smaller size. They can be a bit high in anxiety, which could give Linda something to focus her extra energy on. They're also very affectionate and really love their owners, and it looks like Linda could really use some of that love in her own home. The sociability of the Pomsky might also help Linda to get out of her house. Meet new people, touch some grass, and quit feeling so trapped within her own home. And finally, because I have a bit of humor, Pomskys look like mini wolves, but are definitely not wolves. If you know, you know. That's what these spoiler warnings are for. Speaking of spoiler warnings, let's talk about her stepdaughter, Jane Penvillin. If we know anything about Jane, it is that she is lonely. She's on a strict schedule of learning with an emphasis placed on her family history, but very little emphasis placed on socialization and children her own age. There's an entire trunk of games at the foot of her bed, but literally almost no one to play with. While a dog would be unlikely to be able to play board games with her, it would still definitely give her someone to at least run around the manor with. I'm not sure if it would help her cause more mischief, or if it would finally give her somewhere to place that energy. But I'm still of the belief that a pet is a good thing, and I guess Lulu wasn't quite enough of a distraction for her. But since I am absolutely hilarious to myself, I am giving Jane a Kuksha. What's a Kuksha, you might ask? Great question. They're not really an entirely recognized dog breed, but if you Google them, you'll see that they have an uncanny resemblance to wolves. Training must start at an early age to develop respect and loyalty, as they can grow to give in to their more wolf-like traits, and grow increasingly territorial and develop separation anxiety, which can turn very destructive if left without a proper outlet. They're not all bad though. They can be very affectionate if given proper play and training. The bark, though, is not worse than the bite. Jane needs all of these things too. She needs a friend. She needs someone to play with. She needs some structure. She needs to know she's safe and secure, or she just might become very, very, very destructive. Again, if you know, you know. To continue on with the family tree, we now have Letitia Drake. We know she has plenty of affection to give when you watch how well she cares for her plants. Although she's a bit eccentric and might have a thing for carnivorous plants, I do believe she would enjoy a well-mannered dog. It would have to be one that would enjoy admiring her plants, would not dig up all their dirt, and would have a bit of a respectable background, you know, a breed that was fairly well known and seen as good. If I had to pick a pet for Miss Drake, I probably would have gone for something totally silent like a goldfish, but this video is not about fish. So, what does someone with an Old English history get as a dog? A Pembroke Welsh Corgi. Unfortunately, these dogs are not known for being extremely quiet, but have a reason to bark. Considering it takes multiple knocks to wake up Miss Drake, this dog needs some sort of ability to bark, or it will end up having accidents all over the mansion, unable to get outside. If the royal family can have corgis, why can't Mrs. Drake? She would probably have one that had some rich heritage she could trace back generations, even back to the royal family. But the minute it accidentally ate one of John Pemberton's prized hybridized plants, I'll let your imagination run with that one. I did say she has a thing for carnivorous plants. Speaking of someone else who would want their dog to have a history to study up on, we have Nigel Mukherjee. With his fascination with studying history, he would have read up everything there was to know about the breed and possibly whatever breeder he went with. The dog would definitely have a fancy name that ended in the third, named after some famous historian. And because I like cute things, imagine that if Nigel decided to turn into more than just a historical author and end up writing children's books about his dog. Which reminds me, I still owe everyone a children's book about Lilo. Back to that later. One of the breeds with thousands of years of history is the Chow Chow. The American Kennel Club lists them as dignified, bright, and serious-minded, and that fits fairly well with Nigel. In his line of work, I would assume his reputation is very important, and having a dog known for chewing up books in the client's library might not be the best move for him. Having a breed considered to be dignified and serious-minded would allow him to have a friend and keep his reputation. Just don't be too surprised when you see the dog snoring in the corner while Nigel is giving a dramatic monologue of his works. Next up is everyone's favorite jump scare, Ethel Bossany. Her family has been the tutors of the Pembertons for hundreds of years, and that sort of longevity requires an unwavering amount of loyalty for countless generations, as well as respect for others' secrets. In order to be able to teach Jane about the family's secrets, Ethel had to learn these family secrets herself. In some ways, that had to really be a very difficult career, as she could hardly share the ins and outs of her profession with others. Maybe that's why she's so shifty. A dog, on the other hand, especially a fairly quiet one, would give Ethel the opportunity to share secrets without fear of them being exposed. A Whippet is known to be fairly quiet and a very loyal dog. It could follow Ethel around the house in almost total silence, only poking its head around her side occasionally when wanting to see what's going on. The Whippet is also a very slender dog, which would allow it to follow Ethel in doing the awkward slide through the doorway while avoiding Nancy move. You know, it would be one of those situations where you would be walking down the hall and you think you were totally alone, and then suddenly Ethel turns front way facing you and she's there, and then suddenly the dog steps out from behind her, but you wouldn't be able to see either one of them beforehand. Maybe that's not a great thing. Either way, moving on. Now, while I would usually be doing my video wrap-up at this point, I have one more character who I felt deserved a dog. Without her, we could have never solved all the puzzles, nor would we have known who was a very, very clever and beautiful bird. So it would be rude to leave out our favorite character, Lulu. And because I am absolutely hilarious, and I do love irony, I have chosen a dog breed that Lulu can ride off into the sunset on. The English Pointer. Lulu would entertain herself all day long trying to get the dog to point at things and convincing the dog that Lulu is the only bird not worth hunting. The main need of the English Pointer is socialization, and the main need of Lulu is socialization. Sounds like a perfect match to me. Now ride, Lulu, ride. Sorry. Okay, we are officially at the end now. Unless you want me to give the gargoyle a dog, but that might be pushing the limits a little. There are a lot of different characters to go through for this one, and that was a lot of fun. I haven't spun the wheel yet to see what is next, but I'm probably going to do that here shortly and get to work on the next script. If you enjoyed this video, consider liking it and giving me a follow. You can also find me on Instagram under the same name. I would really love to hear your thoughts in the comments about what other breeds these characters might go with. If you have another character that I haven't done yet that you feel strongly about, put that in the comments as well or message me on Instagram. All suggestions that I use will get referenced in the description of each video. Thanks for sleuthing, y'all!